I mean, I've had moments when I didn't think life was worth living, and I imagined my own suicide. Never that I planned it or I was going to do it, but I kind of fantasized it, you know? I've been to those places. I feel that the world's against me. That's not a feeling, it's a belief. If you have that belief, it's because at some point you had that experience. But you're not having that experience right now. That experience was that of a child who was helpless and alone. So what's showing up in your belief system is not your present situation, but your childhood emotional experience. In the present, we can heal. No matter what happened then, we can heal in the present. Are you willing to consider that healing is possible for you? Or have you totally given up? The way that fear shows up in most people's lives is in the form of anxiety, where it's no longer fear of a specific thing, it's just fear of the world. So that original fear that's meant to result in a cry for help now becomes chronic anxiety. So fear not dealt with gets ingrained as anxiety. It's no longer about anything specific. It's just being in the world is a source of fear. You know what the top regret of dying people was? That they didn't have the courage to be themselves. And the third top regret was that they didn't have the courage to express their emotions. They pretended to be happy when they were not, and so on. So the question for the rest of us is, do we want to wait till some terminal illness wakes us up? Or should we just confront the fact that in so many ways we're afraid to be authentic because we're so afraid of being rejected? As children, we didn't have much choice. As adults, can we develop that freedom to be ourselves? So triggering is a great opportunity to learn. When you get triggered, you could either focus on, resent, and resist the trigger, or you could say, what was I still carrying inside that I haven't looked at yet, that I haven't resolved yet? Because at some point, that voice came along when you were quite small. See, if you were suffering as a kid or things weren't going well, there's two assumptions a child could make unconsciously. One is, the world is dangerous, my parents don't know how to love me, value me, I can't trust anybody, I'm all alone, I'm going to suffer in this world. The other belief unconsciously is, there's something wrong with me, and maybe if I work hard enough, I can fix it. I was depressed. I thought life wasn't worth living at some point. So that happened to me midway through life, and I had to confront the internal hell that I was carrying, that I was generating, and I didn't know why. I thought this is just life. Because of course the life you lead is the only life you ever recall, unless you recall past lives, which I don't. My mind doesn't even go there. How can you see your face clearly? Unless you're having a deep spiritual experience, which is beyond words and beyond cognition, such as I've never had. You can't see your face clearly without a mirror. It's very hard for us to see ourselves clearly without a mirror, and guess what? When people come to you, they're coming to you because they want to see themselves in a mirror. They want to see their true selves. If they could see their true selves, they would not be needing to see you. So they need to see themselves clearly. But for you to be able to be that mirror, guess what? You have to be clear. That's why the most important work we ever do is on ourselves. Well, there's two ways to ask that question that you just raised. Why is this coming up? Is that a question? What is it actually? When you say, why is this coming up like that? That's not a question. It's a statement. It's a statement that says, this shouldn't be happening to me. Now, you ain't gonna learn anything that way. But if you actually ask it, I wonder why this is coming up. Now you can learn something. So when I talk about being connected to ourselves, I'm talking about actually knowing what we feel and experience in a given moment and being able to interpret that appropriately. Without that capacity, we're lost. We're born with that capacity. You never met an infant who's not connected to their gut feelings. By the time you talk to adults, you find many people who even have their gut feelings, they ignore them. So that something happens between infancy and adulthood that disconnects us. Now what is that? What that is the need for acceptance by our environment. If our environment does not or cannot support our gut feelings and our healthy emotions, then the child, in order to belong and fit in, will automatically, unwittingly and unconsciously repress or suppress their emotions and their connection to themselves. Trauma is not what happens to you, it's what happens inside you. That's a good thing, by the way. If trauma is the fact that you were abused as a child, you will never be a person who wasn't abused as a child. Trauma can also be inflicted not by what happens to you, but what doesn't happen that should happen. So that when your needs aren't met, that can wound as well. Even though you weren't overtly hurt, you were still wounded by not having your essential human needs met. But if that was the trauma of what happened to you, guess what? It'll never unhappen. But if trauma is what happened inside you, the wound that you sustained, the meaning you made of it, the way you then came to believe certain things about yourself or the world or other people. And if trauma was that disconnection from the authentic self, well, guess what? Good news. That can be restored at any moment. But we don't have to, the biggest lesson for me, and one I continue to have to learn, is that we don't have to allow it to define our lives, how we see ourselves, how we see the world, how we relate to the world, other people, how we relate to possibility, how we relate to even spiritual transformation. We're not living in the way that human beings evolved. Like every animal evolves in a certain environment and context and is suited to that environment and context. If you want to understand elephants, don't study them in a zoo. Study them out in where they live. The patterns that I notice that make people ill and often lead to untimely death are easily seen in the obituaries of young people. And we talk about the good dying young, and they do. Because the people that we consider good are very often people who suppress themselves. They don't just do it out of compassion, they do, but they also do it because they have no choice in the matter, because they were programmed that way from early childhood. And it's that self-suppression, the desire to be accepted and loved by others, that makes them so nice. But those same patterns also suppress their immune system and their hormonal apparatus, interfere with their nervous system, and create the basis for disease. So these patterns are the automatic and compulsive concern for the emotional needs of others while ignoring your own. That's a killer. I love having been a physician, and that's my calling. But the big part of it wasn't just that I wanted to help humanity or heal people. It's also I needed to be important. Now, why did I need to be important? Because as an infant, I got the message that I wasn't. And that creates a kind of an addiction, because you have to keep proving to yourself how important you are and how valuable you are. But nobody should have to prove how valuable they are. That's just our birthright, that we exist. We have the right to be here. The greatest gift a parent can give to their child is his or her own happiness. So take care of your emotional states, because your kid is sensitive enough to be downloading your emotional states and making them their own. So if you're stressed, unhappy, depressed, anxious, addicted, believe me, your kid is going to absorb all that and make it about themselves, that there's something wrong with them. So take care of yourself. Live a life that you can live with. So when your kids are really small, consciously make the first 3 years as stress-free and as clear of psychological dysfunction as possible. That means work on your traumas. Work on your relationship with your partner, your spouse. That's the first thing. Don't force them to suppress their emotions. I'm not saying be permissive with behaviors. I'm saying don't force the child to suppress their emotions. Don't tell them not to be angry. Don't tell them to cheer up when they're sad. Validate the anger, validate the sadness. These are essential brain circuits for such feelings. Nature gave them to us for a reason.